Okay, am I live? Hello, this is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring in Seattle, and I think I'm live, but I haven't used this particular format before. And now I'm trying to write something. The glasses are shiny. Woo! So I am in Seattle in the United States of America, and I'm trying to figure out if I might be high functioning autistic, which is an idea that I've had in my head off and on for years, really. I had an unusual childhood and upbringing. I'm an only child of a very kind of unusual parents who are very creative, and they divorced when I was 4, and it's a long story. And my mom put me in alternative school as a kid, and it just seems like my brain is total chaos, and yet I've created all kinds of interesting artwork, and I make a living as an art model. And the more I learn about Asperger, As Asperger syndrome. I can't say it. I don't really know how you're supposed to pronounce it. Some people say Asperger syndrome. Other people say Asperger syndrome. I don't know how it's pronounced, but high functioning autistic, meaning not to say that there's something wrong with me, but that my brain is different, physically different, I think, than typical people. And the more I listen to other high functioning autistic people speak, the more I think that I'm one of those kinds of people. Although autistic people seem to be very different, like none of them really fit into a category of being the same, other than the similarity seems to be that autistic people are highly sensitive, meaning, I mean, I'm definitely mostly an introvert, and I'm left-handed, and not that that matters, but a majority of people are not left-handed. So what I'm saying is that I'm an only child and I'm left-handed, and I always felt like a misfit as a little kid. And I had friends as a kid, but I remember I was probably more interested in the playground. Like I used to love to run outside during recess and run and swing and play on the metal bars and the I don't even remember the names of all the things on the playground. But I think I was more interested in the playground metal playthings than I was in the other little kids. Like I had friends and I played with them, but I just remember that I was driven to swing and driven to I'm very physically coordinated, so I don't really fit the category of being clumsy. A lot of autistic people seem to be physically very clumsy and not aware of space, like their spatial, like how not to bump into things, and yet I'm very athletic. I played tennis as a kid, and I was very athletic and used to roller skate, and so I was very physically like coordinated, but socially very awkward, and used to stare at people. And I kind of knew that I wasn't supposed to stare at other kids, but I feel like I was confused, and I was looking at these other little kids trying to figure out, how do you do what you're supposed to do? Like, who am I supposed to be? And I just remember thinking, who am I supposed to be? Instead of just being myself, I'm thinking that other kids were just themselves. Maybe they had brothers and sisters and got more practice. I wasn't good at handling being teased, and I wasn't good at handling sarcastic jokes. I didn't always understand, although I don't take everything literally. I understand metaphor and symbolism. So I don't have, like, some autistic people take everything literally, like literally, and they don't understand a lot of jokes. Although sometimes things that are really obvious, I don't understand. And when somebody says something to me, I'm not always sure if they're joking or not. My dad actually has a very unusual, eccentric sense of humor, and he's written comedy, not professionally. He wanted to write comedy, but he never actually did professionally, because he's a perfectionist. That's a long story, and he's a private person, so I won't talk about that. But let's just say that I grew up being raised by a father who wrote comedy and folk music, and I was exposed to, and my mom is a visual artist, and so I kind of grew up with creative, unusual, interesting parents. And both my parents are kind of introverted and very sensitive, and they love animals. And I feel like perhaps my brain and the brain of my mother and the brain of my father, I think is a bit unusual. None of us have had brain scans. Apparently, if they give you a brain scan, in your autistic, you can actually see it on the brain scan. Like there's a certain part of your brain that's bigger, and then another part of your brain might be smaller or less active, a more social, extroverted, more typical person. Not that there's anything wrong with being extroverted, because sometimes I perform and like I'm doing this video, which is not really introverted for me to actually share my inner thoughts, I guess is an expression. And it's not like if I was totally introverted, then I wouldn't even want to do a video. And I probably wouldn't want to ride in the world naked bike ride. And I probably wouldn't want to be a figure model. But I feel like art modeling is the perfect job for me if I'm autistic. Whether I'm autistic or not doesn't matter. I don't know if the label matters. I'm seeing a therapist, and none of the therapists I've ever seen seem to think I'm autistic, but I make well, I'm looking at a camera right now, not a real person, but I can make eye contact. But I do find it, as a little kid, actually, I was told, you need to make eye contact. You're shy. You're shy. I was told that I was shy as a kid. Maybe I was. I probably am. But I think that it kind of fell under the cracks in terms of, like, socially, I never really learned to be comfortable. I mean, I've had friends. I had little friends that I played with and roller skated with, grew up in San Diego and then Whidbey Island and then Seattle after high school, studied graphic design. See, my thoughts are all over the place. I've been watching tons and tons of videos on nutrition. I'm obsessed with nutrition. I'm obsessed with intermittent fasting and eating low carb, high fat, medium protein. I'm obsessed with that. And I'm obsessed. And this is like, interest. They say autistic people have obsessive interests. Not that that's bad to be really into something, but that it creates challenges when trying to be friends with other people because I'm so consumed. Like, I have a boyfriend, which in itself I think is a miracle. I've dated him for about 5 years now. I live by myself with my cat, and I like it that way. He is a musician in a rock and roll cover band, and he's also a photographer. So he's like a freelance creative person. So he understands my unusual schedule, and he has an unusual schedule. That's a long story, but for some reason, he's very different than me. He's much more extroverted than I am. But for some reason, we're still together after 5 years, which is amazing because my love life has been like very challenging to say the least. But that's a whole nother ball of wax. But I mostly wanted to say, I don't know what I'm saying. My mind is off somewhere in space. I love to stare into space. I got into art modeling as a way to earn money. And I used to take figure drawing classes, and I just never enjoyed, measuring the model. I have a tendency to do really abstract art. This is my mobile phone with a design. This is part of an abstract design, and then a collage of self-portrait photos. And I do lots of pure, non-representational abstract art inspired by the shapes I see in plants and animals in nature. When I fly in an airplane and I look out the window and I see the topography of the land and the different shapes of rivers and mountains and, the organic shapes. My mom's artwork is that way too. She has organic shapes and inspired by nature. Here's another piece of my art here. I can show you. This is a pastel drawing of mine. Sorry, my glasses are glaring. Pastel drawing of mine that somebody had printed on this mouse pad for me and gave me as a gift. I think to remind me that my artwork's pretty cool and maybe I should, focus more on that. But because I'm so distracted, I mostly spend most of my time and energy being an art model. I work at like 15 different places. Somebody just texted me. Yes. Okay. My boyfriend texted me. He is going to a blues jam tonight, and sometimes I go with him, but I really don't like loud bars, but I love music. I don't drink. I don't like alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm a goody two shoes. So I'm highly sensitive and I've never enjoyed alcohol or marijuana or anything or any drugs. Although I did eat hash once in Amsterdam and I thought my skin, I kept looking at my hands and thinking, is my skin going to fall off? How do I know my skin isn't going to fall off? I hope everybody can hear me. I think there's one person listening. Thanks for the thumbs up. One person is listening, hopefully. Yes, talking about autism, etc. Artistic, autistic. I wrote a poem, Artism, Autism. Let's see if I can find it. Kring speak poetry. I don't know if anybody is listening, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that I say what I need to say. Artism, autism. I'm going to read one of my poems. And if anybody is listening, I don't see like a box with chat, so I don't think you can ask me any questions, anybody watching, but I hope you can hear me, whoever you are. Everybody's watching this. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shannon Kringen. Goddess Kring is my nickname. I live in Seattle and I'm an art model. And the reason why I got into art modeling was because I'm an artist. I mostly studied God, this glasses drive me nuts because they're shiny. I mostly studied graphic design after high school. How can I make these not shiny? I can't do it. Sorry about that. Sorry about the glare. So that's distracting, isn't it? I studied graphic design after high school, and my mom raised me with lots of Hundertwasser is an Austrian artist that both my mom and I love the work of, and he's inspired by Gaudi and Gustav Klimt and organic shapes and a philosophy about nature and naturism and nudism, and I'm a nude model, and so it all ties together. Synchronicity, connect the dots, and Tom Petty widens my jetty. So there it is. So I watched another video today. This guy, what is his name? Yes, YouTube live on now. I'm on now. I'm on live now. This man on YouTube who is a high functioning autistic man. He is Joe Jamfrey. Joe Jamfrey is from the United Kingdom, England, I think. And I found his YouTube channel. He's a lot younger than me. He's trained as an actor, and he is a highly articulate, intelligent person. And then he mentioned that he loves Tom Petty, the music of Tom Petty and he mentioned Jeff Lynne, and then he held up a dog. And I feel a kinship with this person. He seems highly sensitive and intelligent. His voice is very soothing, and I'm glad I found him. And there's lots of really intelligent, interesting people online talking about high functioning autism. So I thought I would talk about it, not to victimize or label myself as less than or better than other people, just different. I don't really know where I belong sometimes, other than being an art model, but I feel like I don't realize I need to give myself credit for how successful I am. I'm 50 years old. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't have an ego about that. I'm not like a lot of women don't want to say their age because they don't want to be judged, but I'm proud of the fact that I've aged so well. So I'm just going to say I'm 50. I'm 50. I'm 50 years old and I can kick and stretch and kick. And I've recently gotten more fit. I'm as fit as I was when I was in high school. I was on the tennis team in high school and jogging, and I walk and I ride my bike and I'm fit and I'm an art model and I'm 50. And so there it is. So yeah. But what was I going to say? See, I'm losing my train of thought. I did a public access TV show for 15 years called Goddess Kring, where I did monologues every week. And I'm thinking that if I'm autistic, it all makes sense, because people wondered how I had the guts to do that. It's like I had no ego. Of course I have an ego. Everybody has an ego, right? We're all trying to be cool, or I don't know what we're trying to do. But what I mean by that is I wasn't embarrassed to do my show because actually I was lonely, and I think I was trying to reach out, but I think I was also wanting to learn something. I wanted to express myself because I'm very shy in some ways. And for some reason, when I'm with my camera, I'm like, hey, I can just talk and upload, and share and publish. This was back in the days of VHS videotapes. And I would videotape myself on my big old video camera from the 90s, 1996, big, huge video camera. And I made VHS tapes and I would drop them off at the cable access TV studio in Seattle. And for free, I would broadcast a show called Goddess Kring. And then I got all this like fan mail and hate mail and a variety of positive and negative comments about how my show affected people. And then I was trying to learn, who am I? What am I doing on this planet? And what do I want? And what can I give and receive with other people? I've been kind of socially, I don't know, I keep to myself a lot. I'm known for painting shoes. I painted shoes for Tori Amos. Not that that matters, but that's just a weird little fact about me. Because I love the music of Tori Amos. And there's times when I think our Tori Amos might be high functioning autistic, but maybe not autistic, but she's definitely a musical prodigy. When she was 3 years old, she could just hear Mozart and then just start playing it on the piano as a little 3-year-old. And her parents noticed. Thankfully, her parents noticed. Our daughter can just play Mozart and she's 3. This is unusual. So they got her, she took lessons. She went to the Peabody Institute of Music in Baltimore. It's a long story, but Tori Amos is a very creative, unusual, open-minded person, and her music resonates with me. And so I painted shoes for her and was able to meet her and give her shoes, and had an awkward, I met her, I hugged her, and I talked a little bit with her, but I was just like really kind of weirded out. And I feel like I kind of missed an opportunity to really connect on a deeper level, but at least I gave her hand-painted shoes. And I wanted to give Tom Petty a hand-painted top hat that I made for him, but I never did that, and now he passed away. So that's another long story, but yeah. Okay, I was going to read my poem. My videos don't seem to be very popular on YouTube, but I think I need to just not worry about that. And, it's not like I can dance around nude. Never mind. I model nude for a living and also clothed and in costume. And I fell into art modeling because I'm an artist and I don't like to draw the figure. Like, I appreciate figure drawing and painting and realism. I really appreciate the skill, and there's beautiful art made that's realistic or abstracted, figurative. My art is totally non-representational. I hope I'm still live streaming. Yes, I am. Okay, so I'm going to read my poem. You say autistic, I say artistic, by Shannon Kringen. That's me. You say autistic, I say artistic. Autism, artism. The autistic artist or the artistic autistic. In a flash, she was freed from lightning, lover's touch far away. Instead, had inner light igniting the way, trying to understand with true clarity. Felt like an outsider, pirate longing for the cove, not wanting to fit in, wanting to stand out, yet be accepted for the unique role she plays, not lazy at all like a doll, with a secret under the bed, water patterns, broken glass, San Diego sand, not eating pills like candy, handing dandelions out, landing, standing solo, beyond the tension of opposites, composing or composting. Self-abandonment got her stranded again, polluted and uprooted. The face in the crowd took her hand, raised her above water seeds, free from judgment, space to enter the vortex of authenticity, clarity, alone, all one. Center focus balance, risen above criticism. The sky is not falling. You're safe. Scattered chaos, brain and all. Thought patterns risen above. The witness speaks. Listening to silence. Be with nature. Mirroring back to you the perfect beauty of life you are. Dare to stare into the lens. Dare to care, not to tear apart at the heart. The art of knowing the glow of soul. Showing full mojo flow. Damn the torpedoes. Allow life to feed us. So that's like one of the poems that I wrote called You Say Autistic, I Say Artistic. There's a page, if you just go shannonkringen.com, Kring Speak, you'll find a page full of my poetry. I also have written down, I've recorded with an echoey voice, my spoken word. I don't seem to get a lot of feedback on my art, though. I think that people are really weirded out. Either people are just too busy and distracted and I'm not that interesting, or people are just weirded out by me and they don't know what to say. I used to get a lot of mean comments. At least I don't get that anymore, but but I don't get any comments. Now I don't get any comments. So I'd almost rather get, no, I don't want hateful comments. No, I don't want that. So yes, but okay, I'm going to take these off because that's driving me nuts. Yeah. So I got my Tom Petty button on. Got my Tom Petty. Can you see that? Camera's not focusing. This is not a great webcam. I probably should get a new webcam. And I think the microphone on this cam isn't so great either, but I'll just put my glasses back on. So I might be autistic, but the thing is, I don't know if that matters. I see a therapist. She's not qualified to diagnose autism. The therapy for autism is different than the kind of therapy I'm doing, but I don't like conventional therapy anyway. And the therapist I'm seeing is fine with doing sort of improvisational intuitive therapy, which is my favorite kind, stream of consciousness. I don't really like dialectical behavioral therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. What is it called? Different kinds of traditional therapy kind of bother me. So I don't really do well with that kind of format. I like the structure of having things scheduled and being on time, but I don't like, I'm kind of a combination of order and chaos. Like I like there to be structure. Like I like art modeling. Another reason why I like art modeling is because it is kind of improvisational and random. And at the same time, there's structure. Like I show up at a certain time, I get paid by the hour like a normal job. And the instructor, usually it's timed like 20 minutes. I pose, I'm still and stare at the wall for 20 minutes. And then I get a 5-minute break. 20 minutes on, 5-minute break, 20 minutes pose, 5-minute break. And sometimes it's one pose for 3 or 4 hours for several sessions or one session. Other times it's a whole bunch of 1-minute poses, action, like gesture poses, they call them, where you twist and turn and you hold as still as you can and you do action, bending and twisting and turning, and you do like athletic poses that are really open and create negative space, and then you do the opposite and you curl up in a little ball and I get to kind of express myself with my body. I'm very kinesthetic. So I guess if I'm autistic, I'm not the klutzy kind. I'm a coordinated athletic kinesthetic person that likes improvisational dance. And as a little kid, it's true, I was very shy about talking to other people as a little kid, but I loved to roller skate around the block. And I had a fantasy that I was like in a movie and I was roller skating and everybody would notice what a cool roller skater I was. And so I guess it's perfect for me to model in front of people because I'm comfortable with people looking at me and drawing and, creating art based on what I look like and what I give them visually to look at so they can learn to draw. So I guess that I am kind of introverted, but in a performance kind of way. And somebody said, I forgot who, that there's a lot of actors who are kind of autistic and a lot of musicians. I know that a lot of actors and musicians are introverts and writers are kind of introverted, but in a creative, expressive, introspective, sing, dance, write, create, theater, acting, movies. They're driven to create with their own body and voice, and then they want to share it with people. So that's the part that's more extroverted, but it's not really, there's a way of being an introverted extrovert. So I guess if I'm autistic, high functioning autistic, and again, I don't mean that as a put down. I'm not putting myself down when I say that. I'm just acknowledging that I might be a bit different. I get overstimulated and irritated by loud noises, although I love music. I don't think that I'm always good at listening to other people. I want to. I care. I have empathy for other people. Empathy for the Predator is another poem that I started to write, but I can't seem to finish it. It's called Empathy for the Predator. Because I love to watch nature shows, but I always cringe when predators hunt other animals, but then it occurred to me that if the animal fails to hunt and fails to get the prey, then they starve. So then I was like, oh no, now I feel sad for the predator who didn't get the prey, but I'm happy for the prey that got away. Oh yeah, I made a rhyme. So empathy for the predator. So there's the predator and the prey. There's the beyond the duality. I tend to think in terms of tangents. And it seems like I'm good at doing these monologues. And then when I try to relate with real people, I mean, I have a boyfriend, and that's amazing. I've, dated him for 5 years, but I wonder who the real me is. And am I masking? I like to think that sometimes I feel like a chameleon and like I don't know who the real me is. And that when I'm around different people, I sort of adapt to those people. But I guess I'm mostly just quiet, and I talk to people. Let's see, I belong to a creative writing group, and we meet every Saturday, and there's really just three of us that show up usually, and there's a man and a woman and me. So two women, me and this other woman and a man. And we all write in very, very different ways. I write rhymey, sing-songy poetry, and the other people write fiction. And very different style from me, and we all three write and then we read. And so I guess I feel like I'm myself with them and I'm myself with my boyfriend, but I kind of feel like I'm not. Who am I? Who's the real me? Does that matter? So I guess I'm trying to figure that out. So thank you for listening. My name is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. Maybe I'll talk more. Maybe if there's anybody that listens to this that has any questions for me, and if not, if nobody's listening and nobody has any questions, then I am going to write a list of questions and maybe answer them. Like I will interview myself. I have a podcast that I don't know if hardly anybody listens to, but I used to get a lot of feedback on my TV show, my public access TV show, way back in the olden days. But then again, I need to stay centered on what I'm saying, what I'm sharing anyway, and not depend on feedback. So, but then again, if nobody's watching, then why am I doing these videos? If I'm the only one that's going to watch this video, what's the point? So maybe I'll stop doing them if I don't get any response. But because what would be the point? But I do a radio show on hollowearthradio.org in Seattle. They invited me to do a radio show, and that's every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. And I talk about different things. I play music that I love. I have my own music, and I do monologues. And so I record a podcast every week, and then I have my YouTube channel where I just have been sharing random videos since 2005, I think. And I've been figure modeling for 27 years. I mean, 27 years, like I'm 50. And I started modeling when I was 23, I think, or 22, something like that, in the early 90s, basically. I started art modeling. And I didn't know I could do that full time. I started just gradually, and one thing led to another, and I was good at it, and people kept calling me, and I kept saying yes. And then I learned nobody taught me how to be an art model, although, because there are classes in art modeling that some people take, but I didn't need to do that. I had an intuitive sense of what I needed to do. And also I'm an artist. I studied art history a little bit. I took a few classes in art history and design, and I have a graphic design certificate. I took a 2-year graphic design intensive program here in Seattle. And my mom's an artist, and I've taken art history. And so I kind of knew all the famous classical paintings and sculptures and Michelangelo and all the famous artists throughout history, and studied some of that. So I kind of knew what the poses should be, asymmetrical and contrapposto and chiaroscuro and all of that. So I know like a lot of stuff about art history. And I took figure drawing, really just observing male and female figure models and how they posed and what they did and what was expected and what the exercises and assignments were. I knew that there was gesture poses and long poses, and I knew different painting techniques. And so I know a lot about art in general. And so when I became a figure model, it seemed very normal to me to be in an art studio and pose in front of people. I just seemed like I already knew what I needed to do. I just did it. So I sort of taught myself and learned as I went. And learned the kind of poses that I could hold for a long time versus a short time, because if you do certain things, your whole leg falls asleep or you get a muscle cramp, etc. So you have to be careful the poses that you choose to do, because it can be very, very painful being an art model. But it just seems like if I'm autistic, it's the perfect, whether I'm autistic or not, it's the perfect job for me in some ways. Sometimes I feel a little bored, but generally I love the fact that I have permission, I get paid, I earn a living, and nobody's mad at me because I'm doing my job well. I can just stare off into space and daydream or think about anything I want to think about. I can daydream, I can meditate, I can fantasize, I can just be in my own inner world. And people are drawing and painting and creating art. And so, and sometimes music is playing. And so I like music. I like hearing a variety of different kinds of music. And I like being in an art studio, creative, space. And I like the sound of the charcoal when people are drawing. It's like this, the sound of the charcoal drawing on the paper. I love that sound. I've been heard it for 27 years. And so just being in an art studio, I also work with medical students. I pretend to be a patient with medical students, and I actually have to do a lot of eye contact to do that. So it's not like I can't do eye contact. I do get distracted though. When I look into someone's eyes, I look at the color of their eyes, and I get caught up in like how interesting somebody's eyes look, and then I might forget what I'm saying. And so I have to look away and then regain my thoughts in my head and then talk, so I have to like really intense eye contact distracts me, but I can make eye contact. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I'm high functioning autistic or not. But the bottom line is I want to love and accept myself and make the best, like Temple Grandin says, make the best of building up my skills and not focus so much on my deficits, learn to cope, with whatever I'm not good at. And don't make like, it's good to push yourself past your comfort zone. But if you're constantly uncomfortable, that's something to look at. I sometimes feel like I'm uncomfortable a lot of the time because I make myself do things I don't really want to do. And so I'm thinking, okay, there's a balance, like push yourself beyond your comfort zone, try new things, something you're afraid of, try it. But if you really don't enjoy it and you're just doing it because you think you should, well, maybe it's best to not do that. So I'm trying to figure that out. So thanks for listening. ShannonKringen.com is my website, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm all over the place. But again, I don't seem to get very many comments on these videos. And so I don't know if people are just not interested in what I'm saying and they think it's boring, or I'm just not connecting. Maybe I am autistic and I don't know how to connect with people, even on this video camera thingy McJagger. So thanks for listening, and ShannonKringen.com is my website if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram. If you like my videos, please subscribe, please push like, please feel free to share this video with anybody who you think might get something out of it, somebody who wants to work on personal growth or be I wish I could actually stop thinking I need to work on personal growth. I wish that, ironically, it would be personal growth if I stopped trying to work on personal growth. Like if I just loved and accepted myself as I was and be more like Eckhart Tolle and just like be here now in the present moment and just listen to Tom Petty and Tori Amos and just enjoy myself. And but mostly I do enjoy my life. I have a beautiful cat named Kisoon, big orange fluffy cat, and he's sitting right there. Let me see if I can show you my kitty. Kisoon, hi, kitty, kitty. Kisoon, there he is. Kisoon, hi. You're a good boy. You're a good boy, Kisoon. Okay, there's my kitty. So I feed him actually a raw meat diet. I feed him a special raw meat diet made for cats. He's mildly diabetic, and I've managed to avoid having to give him insulin because it's dangerous to give a cat insulin. Long story. I researched that. Been feeding him raw food for 1 or 2 years, 1.5 years. I don't know how long. It's been over a year, between 1 and 2 years, and he is doing well. So raw food diet. I'm on a special diet, and so is my kitty. So I am really into nutrition, and I love Tom Petty music, and I love nature. I love animals. I love going for walks. I guess I'm introverted mostly, and I am just me. So, okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.